What's up, everybody? Thralls Miller here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
Miller.
And we have an album review for you. So another one that was on our list for this week of the 5th of August was the newest offering from Psycroptic, Divine Council. This comes out on PROSTHETIC Records. This band formed in 1999 in Tasmania, which honestly, this is the only band I know of from Tasmania. The only other thing I know about Tasmania is the Devils. That's about it. Pretty sure there's other lethal fucking animals there because see, it's Australia, but that's about it. And, you know, Psycroptic. This is their 8th album overall. I have been a fan since the album Observant. That one kind of just came out of nowhere for me, and these guys kind of occupy an interesting territory within technical death metal. It's more groove-laden, and holy shit, Joe Haley's fucking guitar work is
crazy.
It's insane.
As usual, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing I come to expect from them. The level of syncopation is ridiculous, and it's kind of cool to hear a band within, like, tech death really have, like, a unique sound. Like, this is a band that I could pick out of a fucking lineup, like, sound-wise. Like, yeah, that's 100% Psycroptic. Did you hear those fucking guitars?
This is one of the few tech death bands that I actually get into and that I enjoy listening to, so I'm always down to listen to these guys, of course, and this new one didn't disappoint. It delivered on all fronts what you expect from this band. Yeah, rend asunder right away. I mean, there's really not much pretense. You get a drum and bass intro and then really driving rhythm to it.
Oh my god. Honestly, like, this is a band I've always compared to, like, Decapitated in a sense, because, you know, big syncopation behind the riffs and everything. But the thing about Psycroptic is it's very fluid, like with the riff construction where, like, there's tons of, like, you know, just wicked triplets and just relentless machine gun guitars, but it's how he accents them with these, like, crawling arpeggios and bending riffs, and it's unique. It really has its own sound, and
it's also how his brother accents it.
Dude, yeah.
You know? Because the guitars are doing that, but the drums are right on with it. And that's what makes it so fluid, I think, is that everything is dialed in together, especially the drums and guitar. It's tight as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, them Haley boys, they're just fucking insane. And within the first 3 tracks of here, I mean, they are just laying into you with some, like, just super fast, aggressive, but groove-laden songs. And that is another thing that I really like about their sound overall that is on display is you can headbang to this. Like, this isn't, like, so technical where it's, like, challenging, like you have to fucking figure it out like it's a math problem on a fucking chalkboard.
But there are moments in this where you kind of get stuck in a trance.
Yeah.
And I did. But you're just so enthralled with what he's doing on guitar and so hypnotized by it, which is a good thing.
But you can, like, the meter, you can keep following it. And that's, like, the important thing for me is, like, I like technical music, but sometimes it's maybe too technical. Like, you get bands like Rings of Saturn, which, well, what the fuck are they playing? I don't even know. But this band, there's always something to latch onto. Like, there's a big hook. There's, like, a big, fun, you know, like, riff or breakdown that's just kind of right in that fucking pocket.
And they do a great job of, at the end of those songs, too, bringing you back around to those riffs again. They're not afraid to repeat badass things.
Do it. If it's awesome, why not do it again?
The 3rd song in there, I did start to notice how the vocal layering over, like the delivery of the vocals, the lines, they carry over from one riff to another. And there were some riffs in their changes, particular in this Shattered World, that I thought would have hit or impacted more or heavier, if you will, if the vocals would have gave it a little space, if they were constructed a little differently. And that kind of goes into later parts of the album where they do that a little more, and it loses the oomph that it could have in some of those changes.
And vocally, this one is different, mainly because we have an extra vocalist that isn't just like a guest on one song, like he's a session vocalist on here, and he's a very familiar name, at least for us, Jason Kaiser. You know, used to be in Skinless, Origin's main fucking dude, and he is, I believe, supplying a lot of the low-end growls, but probably some of the high ones, because Jason has a really fucking solid range. But he's also working with the main frontman, Jason Pepiot, so we have the Jasons working in tandem. But there's also a female vocalist, Amy Wiles, on here supplying some clean vocals every now and then. So this is maybe a little vocally cluttered at times, but it is kind of an interesting dynamic. And honestly, like, the whole thing is just really driven by the guitars, like the guitars and drums especially, because Well, Dave Haley on drums is...
I mean, this should be driven by the guitar and drums.
Dude, it's insane.
They're fantastic, man. It's just crazy good. Talented, technical stuff. And if you're into, like, technical stuff, you'll really enjoy this album. Even if you're into, like, groovier stuff, I think there's enough to latch onto. They do a good job of wrapping around, like we said before.
Hooks and melodies are a big part of this too. And I mean, honestly, like, if you slowed some of this down, it would kind of sound maybe akin to a band like Lamb of God. Except, you know, slowing down, it's an option on here. It's not often exercised. Like, you know, while this is very groove laden and like you can just kind of just nod away to it, blast beats everywhere. The double bass is flying almost at all times, and you have these really cool, clever breakdowns. But this does slow it down and get maybe a little bit more atmospheric a little bit later in the album. Songs like Prophet's Counsel lead in with a nice, like, acoustic melody, and there's a cool, like, tribal build-up. Honestly, it was something cool. We expected to hear on the new Soulfly, as possibly, like, the new Soulfly song in there. We got something completely different that was awesome. But the song builds up and builds up with, like, more melody and more, like, atmosphere to it. And then
it's really good.
It's really good.
I gotta point that out. It's really good. It's really good melody, really good tonal quality to it. It's comforting to the ears. Everything about the beginning of the song is excellent.
It feels very triumphant in spots too, which is like a really cool mood. Like, generally you think tech death, it's more about brutality and, like, well, an exercise in dexterity. I'm not saying this album isn't an exercise in dexterity. But this has, like, a really cool, like, sort of triumphant vibe to it, and I really dug it. And then Awakening has this really cool ambient start where you actually can hear some of the female vocals kind of come up, and then just blazes into, like, a kind of slower, more, like, moody song, but it still has, like, that fast picking in it. But
I put it had a very ominous, like, impending doom type of vibe to it, which is cool. It's a different kind of feeling that the album hasn't had up until this point. Really just, like, death, life and death type doom, you know?
Yeah. And that atmosphere on it definitely changes the whole vibe of the album at this point, because before that, I mean, you do get a break with Enslavement having kind of a more industrial sort of vibe. Like, it has, like, a straightforward groove. There's, like, a more of a industrial thwack to the drums, and you get some keyboards that start showing up in there. But that still has sort of an intensity to it that is, you know, similar to the rest of the album. Awakening definitely feels just different, like it's a completely different mood. And honestly, in terms of like flat out catchiness, A Fragile Existence, I think, has some absolutely gorgeous melodies. I want to say Joe is doing, like, a really cool tapping melody, and how they incorporate the keys on that song especially, it has, like, a strapping young lad sort of vibe, and I'm a nut for all things fucking Debbie. So I kind of like the whole vibe of that. But, you know, sometimes I think the keys might have been a little bit much in here, but I think that was one of the times where it just really worked. You also have Amy's vocals come in there, and they're a little bit more pronounced, because often I think she kind of gets buried. But, well, that kind of, like, segues into an issue we had with this.
Yeah, which there's just a lot of vocally going on sometimes, and added with the effects, with the technicality, sometimes the guitar, which you're still trying to hear, it's just a lot going on, and it kind of gets a wash of sound to it and a feel to it, more importantly, because music is feel, but it has a wash feel to it. It doesn't sound bad. No. You know, it's just, it's got a wash to it.
It feels like it's too much. And when you compare it to, like, the rest of the production actually was done by Joe Haley, is very tight. Like, it's fucking compressed right to that right level, kind of like right where you want tech death, because the instrumentation is important to hear, so you can't really have mud. But the vocals are, again, kind of washed out. Like, everything's very, you know, just so layered to the point, and everyone's kind of got reverb on there and a lot of effects to... It just sounds like too much. And this is kind of carryover from an issue I had with the last album, As the Kingdom Drowns. Like, they kind of did the same thing on there. And now you're adding, you know, Jason Kaiser in there, which, you know, he's a fucking awesome vocalist in his own right. It came to the point where I wasn't sure who was doing the vocals at some point. Like, all right, Amy stood out because she's the one singing. But, you know, between the two Jasons, it was kind of hard to tell sometimes, and I don't know, it just became too much.
Yeah, it's like you think of, like, a song in mixing, you have a jar of air. There's only so much air for shit to breathe. and you just keep adding stuff, there's just less air for shit to breathe, and you get that squash kind of sound that we're getting at here. And the keys are good for the most part, but some of the orchestrations I thought were way up or in front. I thought if you were compressed a little bit more to kind of get it in the background, don't change the tones or anything of them, or even the volume, but just compressing it in a way where you set your attack and release to set it back in the mix rather than up front. I think that would help a lot there. But there were some minor gripes with that sort of stuff in the mixing of the synths and keys, which I thought the synths were better than the orchestrations.
I think the synths were okay, even though I don't necessarily think they were always needed. Like, there's some spots where I think they definitely added to the mood, like made it sound more epic or more dark. Other times, like namely Enslavement, where you just kind of hear it in the background, like, well, that was a synth. I mean, it's there, but I don't know if it's doing very much.
And it may have helped alleviate some of that, you know, that air that we're talking about, and let the vocals kind of do their thing a little bit more, and maybe not choke them down so much, so we can hear it and appreciate what they're trying to do with the 3 layers. Because obviously the talented musicians, they put thought into this stuff.
Yeah.
So if you got a bunch going on where we can't discern what they're really getting at, then, you know, it ends up being a wash.
Or like a kind of a distraction, like, you know, just kind of like taking you out of the moment. Like, man, I was really fucking vibing, and then I heard that weird noise. I was like, why is that there? But honestly, overall, I thought this was really solid. And I mean, this band has put out a lot of quality work. Like, I think their earlier stuff was, you know, decent, but once they hit around Observant, pretty much everything after that, it's just been fucking killer. And throw another killer one on there. I'm gonna go ahead and give this 3.5 stars. I really dig it. Again, vocals, you know, like maybe a little bit less is more there. Like, I just think there's just too much going on. But man, the music on here is fucking fantastic. Like, I am always consistently impressed as fuck by this band when it comes down to like the guitar work, the drum work, and that wild syncopation. Joe Haley's riffs, again, he stands out in a litany of awesome like tech death players and shit. We're listening to Archspire right now, and I can still pick out him from these guys. That's definitely a testament to his ability, and, you know, finding a unique niche in fucking tech death, which that is a pretty loaded, you know, subgenre. But yeah, this is another fantastic album. If you love Psycroptic, you will love this. If you have never checked out Psycroptic, this wouldn't be a bad place to start. And if you already like bands like Decapitated, this might be an easy fit right away. So yeah, definitely go get this shit.
I'm gonna go with a 3.5 out of 5 as well, and pretty much same thing Nick thought here. It's good tech death. It's one of the bands, a few tech death bands that I get into, and I look forward to seeing their releases, or hearing them rather. But yeah, this didn't disappoint at all, and the vocals, once they dial that in and really get a hold of maybe everything else going around, everything working together, they're putting a lot of stuff in there. So once they get that dialed in, they're gonna make killer albums, of course, but
they already have. But yeah.
But if we had to nitpick.
And we do.
We do. Sorry, guys. We love you.
We do. And you guys kill it live.
Yes.
Like, honestly,
live is fuck. Oh, my God.
Another reason.
Live.
Oh.
It's fucking. Oh, dude.
Just watch Joe's fretboard. It's ridiculous the shit he's doing.
It's one of my favorite bands to see live.
And honestly, like, you know, this is where the vocal thing comes on play, because you get one guy with, you know, some reverb, and he's killing it. He's a great fucking frontman.
Yep.
Don't need all this extra shit. It's already killer.
Yep.
You're spicing it up too much.
Yeah. Again, one of these bands, like, if you like the album, go see these guys live.
Fuck
man.
Yes.
Go to their fucking merch booth, buy their albums, their CDs, fucking everything. They'll hang out. They're fucking super cool. Yeah.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there will be a link also in our Thralls of Metal site, where you can also order a kick-ass shirt and support us on Patreon. So kind of a uniform little thing. I changed up the delivery, and it's way more streamlined now, but I'll probably fuck it up in the future.
It's okay. We still love them.
And as always, thank you all so much for liking, subscribing, commenting, all that stuff. You guys keep us fucking driven, wanting to make more shit, because y'all seem to love it, and I'm questioning your taste, but it's okay as long as you keep coming back here. Looking to figure out a date to get together for the Pantera ranking. We definitely want to get that one done, and then of course Mastodon and Crowbar. Looking forward to this trifecta of fucking awesome shit we get to go over. And yeah, plenty of stuff coming in the future. So with that, I thank you all once again because this is the thanky part of the video, and we will catch you later.